Welcome to another Photoshop tutorial. This will give you a quick overview of all the different text tools that you could use. So first of all, make sure in Photoshop that you have got a new print document open. It's A4 and you've got a landscape that is at 300 pixels per inch and I'm going to have a transparent background. So press create to get your canvas and it should look like this. My text tool is on the left hand side here. When I click and hold, I've got different options. I'm going to show you first of all the horizontal type tool. The properties of this are up in the toolbar up here. So I'm going to keep mine at red for now. I've just got a, let's just choose a normal font style such as that. I've got 100 point. I can type in there if I want to rather than select from the drop down. There's not that many options there. So say I wanted it a bit bigger, I could choose 150. Okay, I'm going to keep it like that for now. And I'm going to click on the page. And what you'll notice is that it brings up some Latin words. That's quite normal. That's just to show you what the text will look like. So you don't need to do anything. You literally just start typing and they will disappear. So if I just say Happy Christmas, there we go. There's my text. That is the horizontal type tool. You treat it like any other object in Photoshop. So if you want to move it, use the move tool and drag it around. If you want to transform it, you do Control and T, and that will help you rotate it if you want to, for example, like that. Okay, I can of course make it a bit smaller if I want to doing that. There we go. Bring that into the middle. It's a little bit big. If I wanted to change the size of the actual font itself, I simply go back onto the text tool, make sure I'm on the correct layer, of course, click where I've typed already, highlight it, like you would in any Microsoft Office program, really, and then change the font up here. Let's take it down to 72 and it will make it smaller. There's many different ways in which you can make it smaller, or of course I could then highlight it and change the colour if I wanted to. There we go, let's go for purpley Christmas colour. The next tool is the vertical type tool. This is basically the same as the horizontal one, but it types vertically. So if I was to write happy again, for example, look, it puts it on a new layer over here, and then I can just treat it like the other layer. I can move it around, I can change the size of it, just like I've done with the horizontal one. Very straightforward. Now we're going to create text on a shape. So I'm going to be using the horizontal type tool still. However, I'm going to put it so it looks like it's round a circle. You can do this on any shape, but this just shows you how the principle of how to do it. So if I draw out my ellipse tool like this on a layer, there we go. For now, it doesn't actually matter whether you've got a fill or a stroke or not, because you can edit that later. And then I simply go onto my text tool. Let's just get rid of that so it gets out of the way. Go onto my text tool, and when I move my cursor, my mouse, near the shape, can you see it changes? So instead of just having a square around my cursor, if I go near it, it changes to being a like a line that goes through the bottom of the cursor. See that? There we go. So when I click on the shape, it automatically puts that Latin around that shape. So it's basically found the path this is going to write on. So I'm going to make that a bit smaller, just so it's a bit easier to see what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm going to keep it purple, so I'm using my properties at the top here. And again, I just start writing whatever it is I want to write. So let's imagine I'm typing Happy Christmas again. There we go. If I wanted to move that around the circle, I could quite easily just press the space bar to get that round where I wanted it on the circle. That's the easiest way of doing it. And then if I want to actually move the text around, I can use the move tool like I would do normally and move the text like that. Now you'll notice straight away, it's very cleverly put the circle on a separate layer. So I can literally go over to my layers panel here and delete that because I don't want the actual circle. If you did want the circle, you could of course then colour it as normal, fill it in and put a stroke on it to make it look, I don't know, like a Christmas ball or something like that. But that's an example of how I put it onto a shape and then get rid of the shape. But as I said, you can keep the shape and do you like with the shape if you'd like to. And again, if I want to then change that text and edit it, I can go back to my text tool. It automatically finds the circle shape for me, even though it's not here in the layers anymore. But I can still edit the text in the same way. So I can highlight it. I can make it bigger if I want to. There we go. I can change the font style if I'd like to. It's entirely up to me what I'd like to do with it. So very useful way of creating a fun shape with text. Now you can do the same with a line, and this is called creating text on a path. So I'm going to use my pen tool to create some anchor points. So I use my left mouse button to click where I want my line to start once, and then I'm going to decide where I want my next anchor point. So I'm going to click the mouse button once, but this time I'm going to hold it. And the reason I hold it is because when I then move it, it gives me these two kind of bars that allows me to change the curvature of the line or the path. So I'm going to, when I'm happy, let go of that, and then I'm going to find my next anchor point up here, click, and it allows me to then do the same thing. So what I'm doing is making a nice curve I want my text to appear on. There we go, I'm happy with that. Don't worry about these extra handles here, that's irrelevant. What you need to do now is choose the text, the horizontal type tool, and just like we did with the other shape, you literally just click when it changes the cursor, and you type Happy Christmas, making sure we've got all our capital letters. And again, you can treat it like any other piece of text. So I can highlight it, I can make it bigger if I want to, I could change the colour of it, I could change the font style. You can have lots of fun. Now, if it disappears like that, that's because it's not, it's disappearing beyond the line. So I am going to make that a bit smaller so I can see the whole thing there. I'm happy with that. Yeah, quite like that. I'm going to leave it like that. And I can use the move tool if I want to then move it around the page like I would with any other object. So now we're going to learn how to use the horizontal type mask tool, or the vertical, just depends which way you want to type really. But it's the principle behind it is how to create a mask so that you have a picture or texture that comes through your text. So the first thing I need to do is make sure I've got an image that I want as the background behind my text. So if I go on the internet to a website like unsplash.com, which is a brilliant website with lots of copyright-free images. Another one is Pixabay, Pixabay.com. Again, lots of copyright-free images. Be careful though, because they do try and give you iStock images which cost. But obviously most of the ones that you see here, just ignore the top bit and you can use any of these and download them. So download an image you want. So I'm going for like a nice Christmassy lights feel. I quite like this one. So I'm going to click on that so I can see it a bit better. Yeah, I'm happy with that. And I'm going to download that for free. I probably want a medium size one for my size of canvas. There we go. And then when I'm in Photoshop, I'm just going to go File and Place Embedded, and I'm going to go and get my Christmas lights picture, there it is, and place it on my layer. There we go. Now it's the wrong way around for me, so I'm just going to turn it that way around because I want my text to be horizontal. So I'm just going to transform that. I could make it a bit bigger if I want to. I've chosen a high enough resolution of image that it won't distort, and when I press enter, I'm happy with that. It looks nice and clear. So one thing you have to be careful of, which is super important, otherwise this will not work, is that over here in your layers panel, make sure you don't have, the picture doesn't have this little icon here, which means it's a smart object. You need it to be rasterized. So if it's got that, you need to make sure you right click on the layer and choose rasterize layer. Otherwise it won't recognize it as a picture. And the other thing that's super important to recognize is that the document you're working on is not going to be the document where your final text goes. So you basically need two documents open. One where you're actually creating your text to then move it into your final document. So imagine my final document is going to be a Christmas card, for example. There we go. I want to move the text onto this one. I'm going to have that open on a second tab over here to move the words onto it. Okay. So this is basically making your text asset on a separate document to move onto your final product. So once you've done those things, it's quite straightforward to actually create the type mask. So I go onto my text tool and choose horizontal type mask tool. Make sure you've got a font where you have got quite a large area in the middle, so you don't want a thin one, you want like quite a wide or fat font like this, for example, so that you want to see the picture through the actual style of font. It doesn't matter about colour because you're using the picture as a background, so you can literally click on your picture and start typing. Now when you click, what will happen is this, and that is fine. That is basically creating a mask over the top of it. And there's your Latin again, so you just press and type Happy Christmas. And you'll notice it's gone off the edge of the picture. Don't worry about that. So if you move your cursor to the end, can you see it changes into the move tool? And that allows me to drag my text around and decide on the best position on my picture that I would like. Okay, so let me decide what I want. I want quite a nice Christmassy feel. Let me go for something like that. That's quite nice. I like that. I can see the lights behind it. And when I'm happy, I can just press the tick up here, or I can press enter, and it turns into marching ants, which is what it's known as when the text does that kind of flashy walky thing. And then I can use my move tool up here, and you'll notice that the marching ants, when I move my mouse inside, you see the cursor changes to a pair of scissors. That means it's ready to cut out. So I'm going to click my left mouse button inside the marching ant area, keep it held, drag it, keeping it held. I'm not letting go of my mouse button, going over to this second document. I'm still keeping my mouse button held, and I'm going to let go now when I'm on this document. There we go. And that is how you use the type mask tool to create text with a picture or a texture behind it to be then suitable for your media product. So the last thing you might want to do is learn how to import different styles of font. So although there's loads to choose from up here, depending on what media product you're making, you might want something completely different. So if you go onto the internet and just type in free font download, the most popular ones that I've seen students use are these two. And so I'm going to let's try DaFont. And this is quite helpful. I prefer this website actually because it's categorized into styles of fonts, which makes it quite easy to find the kind of thing you want. Oh look, they've got Christmas fonts here already, which is quite helpful. But say I wanted, for example, something which is looks like it's handwritten, like this one, for example. Quite like that. If I press download, okay, and I'm just going to click there and press save, that will save it as a zip file into my downloads folder. So when you go into your zipped folder, what you will see is the font file that you need to download. There might be other files with it. The one you want literally just says font file on the end of it. So when I double click on it, it shows you what looks quite a strange document. Now this is a sentence which, if you don't know, uses every letter of the alphabet. So that's quite helpful because it's basically using that as a template. So when you put it in Photoshop, it knows what to put for different letters when you're typing them, or different numbers. That's why that looks like that. So if you just press install, and it's obviously called the Smile, that's the name of the font, it's now installed it. Now just press close, go to Photoshop, and now when you go up here for your font styles, you should find that the Smile has appeared, or whatever yours was called, in your list. So I'm just going to go down here somewhere. Here we go. Where is it? The Smile. There it is. So I choose that, and now when I click, Happy Christmas. There we go. And that's how we import a font Just be aware that you might have issues using the same font again if you're changing computers. It depends how your school network is set up. So yeah, just be aware of that. If it disappears, that would probably be why. So have fun making all your text.